August, this summer, I was set to be married. Everything was planned, the wedding, my dress, the food. And then 2 weeks before the wedding, through a series of unfortunate and now I would deem fortunate circumstances, my life just felt like it was falling apart. I went to my sister. We shared a Starbucks coffee at the Assiniboine Park, and I told her everything. I told her about the way he talked to me, about the way he made me feel, about the way he isolated me from my friends, about the things that happened behind closed doors, about the things that I didn't even want to believe were happening, but were happening. And she told me, she said, "You have to leave. I love you. I'm not going to stick around and allow you to marry this person. You deserve better. You've been brainwashed to believe that you don't, but I know you, and you need to get out." And so over the next couple of months, my sister helped me transition. I moved into her house for 6 months, and my life slowly began to change. And I began to find myself again. And through this process, I don't even know if I would say so much that I was writing poetry, so much as it was exploding out of me. I would be standing at a shopper's line, and then all of a sudden this poem would come to me, and I had to write it down. It was like, it was screaming at me to write it. And so I would stop and grab a notebook and write it down. I've aligned these poems in their trajectory to speak to my process, both in terms of dealing with the pain of an abusive relationship and domestic violence, to seeing it, to believing myself, starting to believe myself, and to healing. So I'm going to start reading the poems. I'm going to give a little breath in between to honor the poem and just have a bit of breathing room between each one. And then, I'll get off the stage. Okay, here we go. I see your worthlessness. It is a reflection of my own. He expects you to take up less and less space, to suspend the response. You're prettier when you are silent. And so you do, because the loving feels like it's enough, more than the emptiness, you say. But it is a slow rot, the kind of collapse you only notice when the body begins to buckle, when your voice is so quiet, you don't recognize it anymore. They never tell you the hardest thing to understand is that your abuser won't ever believe they're abusing you. Sometimes, often, you won't believe it either. The gaslit psyche is indecisive. It's fractured. It swallows its own words, suppresses its own thoughts. It is a disowning. The internal trajectory, it feels like, but probably isn't, a feeling, followed by the questioning, is that the feeling? Should I feel that feeling? What if the feeling's foolish, misguided, manipulative, wrong? An interrogation so severe, a chokehold so tight, the too muchness leaks unbidden from your eyes as you stifle on self-strangulation. Is asking someone to treat you with respect toxic behavior? I ask myself until the words are only sounds in my head, musings of the day. The danger of abuse is the victim does not believe they deserve better. Surviving him is the art of taking up as little space as possible. So small, in fact, the expanse of your rib cage is too great an inconvenience. So small, you wish to scarcely breathe at all. Sometimes, I think I must say I'm sorry in my sleep. I used to be a warrior before the things inside me were eaten by insatiable men. Abuse doesn't always look like bruises or bones broken. Sometimes it's too many smiles, too many Insta posts, too many times rushing to his defense. Silence under trauma is the sound of the soul disintegrating. Things I don't say, all that's left of me is particles. After you, I am writing again, and I can't tell whether it's out of exuberance or necessity. You think the hardest thing is the betrayal, but the longing is much worse. It is a voiceless echo, an insatiable hunger. I cannot taste you, cannot touch the body that hollowed me, cannot hold your weight against my bones. And so I write you into the spaces betwixt and between the edges of my mind collapsing. You are formed of darkness. I hear your thoughts as though they were my own. At one point, they were. You are a goddess. How did you let him take your soul? Day by day, you say. Day by day. To the narcissist, inauthenticity is a cancer that boils and festers at the edge of your soul. With each passing chance, you shed another skin, pieces of yourself disintegrating. Is it an abandonment? You are so far removed that if you happened by, you wouldn't recognize yourself anywhere. I knew it all along, despite the voices to the contrary, despite the scripts flipped and fractured reflections. I kept the embers lit until I could see, finally, the other side of it all. Plant words in the gardens like daffodils. I am enough. Sweet affirmations. With time, we may see which ones will bloom. What is in the act of loving without ownership? I want to be folded into the fabric of a heart, tucked into safety and softness, and not bound to stay like something found and cherished. Beneath the night sky blanket, we find our place among the stars, beautiful and significant, and one with it all. When you close your eyes, do you see nebula blooming? Do you taste constellations? We are the dream dust of 1,000 kingdoms transpiring. Despite its terror and its trouble, what a blessing it is, this life. Sometimes it doesn't need to be prayed up. It is dark and it is broken, and that is okay. It is okay. Because it won't always be. One day, soon, the morning light filtering in won't feel like a betrayal. You will rise in grace and laughter. Greeting the day after day is a triumph. The earth on its axis is endless, exhausting. And you have the weight of choices. You have the audacity to live. And how beautiful it is that you are here. It is a victory of sweet, dewy brilliance. Thank you.